Okay, so here we are in Nantilly, a region of Upper Ellen Township, and this row of sycamore trees didn't do too bad, but there was some damage from Hurricane Sandy. And what we're looking for now is to go through the trees, is to find interesting gnarled features where maybe we can find a face in a tree to help create some of our Nantilly Elementals. So I'll be gathering some wood and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I've harvested a bunch of the branches from the Nantilly Sycamores, and I think we'll have a pretty nice harvest of little elemental creatures. A lot of faces in the wood. So we've got our pile of sticks home from the Nantilly Sycamore trees, and we've had them drying for about 2 months now. And so this is one we're gonna look at as far as making the face of our elemental, and then we'll be picking out body parts and leg parts and so on and so forth. So I think with this guy, first thing we're going to have to do is trim the top of his head down. I think his face is, I'm going to look at the face like this, but the top of his head's a little too wide, so we're going to have to take care of that. So we've got the head trimmed up now, so it's starting to look a little bit like a face. So the next thing to do is to pick out a body, upper body and waist and leg attachment for our elemental guy. Alright, so now I've got the head of our elemental attached to a body, and the body will be trimmed then, of course. It's still in a rough state, but it's a pretty nice flow. So we're going to work on getting the legs adjusted. There's nothing that says elementals have to have just 2 legs. And after the legs, we'll move on to arms, I guess. But for now, it's leg time. Alright, so after a lot of trial and error, we came up with a system for the legs. We've got 3 feet coming down, 2 that would be functional, and then we have these articulated joints here that allow you to position a little bit. And this 3rd leg sticking out. It's kind of just a appendage that probably wouldn't have a whole lot of use. So that's where we are right now. We've got our elemental with 3 legs, and the next step will be arms and hands. Well, after looking at the elemental doll, once he had the legs attached, I realized the head was too tight to the body. He didn't have long enough of a neck. So I've inserted a piece from one of the sycamore branches to give him more of a neck and a little more graceful arch to the neck as well. So I'm thinking that he's looking a little better now. Nice and tall. I think his proportions are better and he's looking good. So now we'll move on to the arms. Well, after rooting through the branch pile from the branches knocked down at the storm, found a nice arm here where you see it's got a real nice angle to it, and it ends in a nice gnarly mass here that'll be good to attach a hand to. And on the left side, I decided to find a pretty much of a matching branch. And I decided to articulate, give him an elbow on this side rather than just having a long straight arm. And this way we'll be able to move him and give him a little more motion. So our elemental is starting to take pretty good shape here, starting to look like a creature of the woods, and we'll look for some hands now. Well, the One of the Nantilly Elementals here is pretty well fleshed out now. We've got hands on the right arm. I've got a hand here that moves nicely and has some good grasping branches. And on the left arm, his hand, of course, articulates up and down. And this will be the arm I think he'll be able to get some nice poses with, because it's got that elbow joint. And so the next thing to do now is to put the finishing touches on the face, figure out eyes, get the mouth the way we want it, and then we start the finishing process and building the stand. So there he is, one of the Nantilly Elementals, almost all together. Alright, so I've been working on trying to figure out what style of eye to put in, and I'm kind of liking this look here. These green eyes go really nice with the woodland theme, and so I think that's what eyes we'll put in there. So those will come out for now during the finishing process, and that's what we're going to move into next. I've got the elemental sanded up a little bit, smoothing off any rough spots, and I've got him stained now to even out his color from where things had to be cut and sanded. So he has a nice uniform color, but you can still see the bark nicely and the imperfections and natural features of the wood. And the next step will be to take him apart and to clear coat each of the pieces with a couple coats of a clear finish, and then we'll work on the base. Well, we're into the finishing stages now for our elemental. We've got our clear finish on here. We've got them all hanging up over the heater to cook that finish nice and hard, and soon we'll be reassembling after we get the hardware treated. So the hardware that we use, these are the articulated joints that can move. I get them as zinc-plated hardware, and I chemically treat them to distress them and give them more of a muted look so they don't stand out so much. So this is the base that will hold the stand, and these are the various pieces of hardware that we need to put our doll together. So that chemical treatment's been done, and soon we'll be able to put our guy back together. So I think this Nantilly Elemental is done. You will notice I did change the eyes after he's got the finish on. These brown eyes looked a lot better than the green eyes, I thought. So here's what we're looking at then as far as a finished salvage doll. He's one of the Elementals, and I think he turned out pretty nice. Now he's the fourth one in this series that I've done, and I got a couple other ones here. Here's number 3, and he's got an interesting face here. Again, that's why we like to use Sycamore, because the Sycamore branches have such amazing structure to them that you can actually see some faces. And one of our Christmas trees this year was another one of the Elementals here. And he seems to be pretty happy taking part in the Christmas train platform. So there's the story of the Nantilly Elementals, and with a pile of broken branches I've got from those trees over the last year, particularly after Hurricane Sandy, I think there'll be several more to come.